Good morning, parents. This is Mr. Binkley. This video is for parents. So students, if you're watching this is going to go over information you already know. I guess if you need a reminder, but you do this every day, so it shouldn't be a problem. But parents, this is a way to show you where your child can go at home on the computer or even a tablet, anywhere they can sign into the internet. To practice their math skills and get instant feedback, and also have videos and notes going over how to do the math in case they're struggling and you want to help them out. That way you kind of have an idea of how they're learning the math. And I know there's a lot out there about how the math is being taught nowadays, but I can tell you, I took calculus in high school, AP calculus, and I struggled to get through that class. I ended up with a low A with it, but I really didn't make the connections I needed to make because I had memorized just a bunch of steps. And I'll tell you now, after 3 years of teaching fifth grade with these standards, I can read trigonometry, calculus books, and just teach it to myself, because this understanding in fifth grade and elementary school sets you up very nicely where you don't have to learn a bunch of new things. You just apply what you know. So if you're interested at all in seeing how any of that connects, there are notes and videos posted. But anyway, your child has two different things that they do in class. They either go on to eMarion, and this is where a lot of their math assignments are. Like, there are practice videos that are linked, either ones that I do myself or from Khan Academy, or from their Go Math series, the textbook that is used in Marion County. And a lot of their kind of science labs or like explorations and things like that are over here in Google Classroom. Your child knows how to sign into both of these. That should not be a problem. They just go through their portal. They know their logins. The only question might be when they try to go into Google Classroom and ask them to sign in, it's not a Gmail account. If you check the paper that this link was on, you will be able to see that how they log in. It's their email for the school, basically. It's not at Gmail. So just check that paper and it'll explain that. It's pretty simple once they are reminded how to do it. But I'll just show you kind of how they can go into this. If they come into eMarion, they have their classes available. Me, clearly, I have 2 math and 2 science. So you see that my homeroom and Ms. Abraham's homeroom for math, and the same thing for science. They just have a math, science, language arts, social studies available to them. But if they were doing something in math, let's say I read in their paper, your child needs to practice decimals, adding decimals. When they come into math, there are notes up here at the top that they can use. I'll even show that if I click this right here, bam, notes on how to add and subtract decimals. And it kind of goes through it step by step, almost like what you would get in a textbook in middle and high school. And I do that on purpose, trying to get your child ready for this transition they're about to go through, where it's a lot more independent. I go over all of this with them in small groups. This is not me just handing them the text and saying read, but I'm trying to help them transition to middle school, where they'll have a lot more of that kind of learning. But anyways, you can see these are set up based on skills. So if your child was struggling with multiplying whole numbers, they could click right here. It's closed right now, but it'll be open when they get in here today. And you can see all the different things they can do. For example, let's say they need to do, they're not sure how to multiply whole numbers. They could click this video right here, and it just opens straight up. They don't have to sign into anything. And as you can see, it's a video from Khan Academy. This guy does a lot of great work explaining things. I could click play and it would just play. Nice thing about this one is they actually give practice afterward. So they can get practice and it gives instant feedback. But let's say, like we said, they were struggling with adding and subtracting decimals and you want them to practice that. They can come right here. Their goals are right here, okay? They should be able to say that my ability to add decimals using models, drawings, and place value is better than Mr. Binkley's ability to tell jokes. Well, many of them say that's not too hard, and frankly, their adding is actually getting pretty good, so it kind of shows it. And they should be able to say hashtag subtracting decimals equals cake. If they could say those two things, they got from this what they need to get. Like I said, you could see this, sign up for one with Mr. Binkley, so I could show you that. So, the first thing students do is they sign up for a lesson. I call them over in a small group and I teach them just how we normally would. And then there are videos to kind of supplement that. So, if maybe what I went over didn't make complete sense to them, they can watch this and sometimes it'll go, oh, now I see. And sometimes they just need that one-on-one interaction with it and then come back to me for a couple more minutes and then bam, they're good. Sometimes it takes weeks and that's fine. We keep working on it. They keep signing up for lessons and coming back on the whiteboard in the back. But let's say they wanted to, you wanted them to practice. If they click this game right here, funny enough, by this game we had a little competition going and I kept winning, but they can play the game. So if I click timed mode, I can start. My goal is to tell me what is this decimal. Well, this is 2/hundredths. Oh, there are 2/hundredths. Bam, I get it right. I get it right off the bat. I'm going to select one incorrectly on purpose. I'm going to go ahead and click 100th and it looks like 600ths. Oh, it's wrong. I know that now. Oh, that's only one there. I made a mistake. So as you can see, it's a lot of their game. High scores on there and everything. But if I come down here to, let's say computation, I click right here, I get that what, many of us call old school math. Okay, I can subtract this, and then I'm gonna get the, instant feedback. I'm gonna say this is 15 and 31/100ths. I know that's incorrect. I'm gonna do that on purpose. And I'm gonna click check answer, not quite. I know right now I need to check something and see where my mistake is. Instead of doing 10 of these, 20 of these incorrectly and getting in bad habits, now as a student, I can see I have a question. I don't know, and I look back at my paper and I don't see my mistake, which really the mistake here is that I did not break apart one of these holes. I didn't break this into a whole number to have myself some extra tenths and hundredths over here. So I can ask for my parent to come help me out. And if they're unable to help me, I can kind of star that problem and just bring that paper in and ask Mr. Binkley. But I can still keep going. I don't have to stay on this one. I can just submit it and go to the next question, but get some help on that one when I go to class if I need to. And there are tons of these links. That's the really nice thing. Like I said, if you're struggling helping them with that and you want to know more, you can always come up to these videos or the notes that are posted. But like I said, there are plenty of different ways for them to practice, and this is for all the various skills that we've done so far this year. So at any time, they can go practice any skill that we've done. If it's open, if you can click it open, if the student can open it up without a password, it's okay for them to do it at home. I have these password protected because these are like their little checks for me to find out if they're ready to go on to the next skill. But they would know that. They'd click it, need a password. Well, they don't know the password. I do. So that kind of keeps them out of the stuff that would need to be done in the classroom. And that kind of makes sense for math, hopefully. Like I said, they know about all that, and they know how to navigate that. That's nothing new for them. So your goal at home, parents-wise, is to say, hey, what are you struggling with? I still struggle with dividing. Go to dividing and practice then, and then go to practice, okay? So now science, they do a little less on here with science. They do that more with a Google Class. But let's say they go to solar system. As you can see, there's some text and questions. Let's say, they didn't finish this in class. They could finish it at home. So there was text that they had to read, and they can answer the questions with it. So I prefer them to finish it in class, but let's say they're absent and they have a lot of work to make up, they could do that. So that's eMarion. And by the way, on eMarion, over Thanksgiving break, I'm going to have a section open up called Thanksgiving. So instead of coordinates or kickstarts, it's going to say Thanksgiving. It's going to be all the way up there. It's going to be all the way up there at the top. And each day I'm going to post some practice where it's like review kind of questions. So I'm going to give some extra credit points to students who go on there and actually do that practice each day. Like I said, the answers will be there at the end once they've submitted it, so they can check their work. And videos will be linked to for the ones that they miss if they need help. So check out the Thanksgiving. I'll also throw some science in there as well, just to keep their brains working. And when you're cooking the Thanksgiving dinner, you could say, hey, go do some of your work on eMarion. Over here on Google Classroom, like I said, the login information will be on the paper that you got this link from. I have several classes opened up, but let's go right here to Mr. Binkley STEM. Don't let them fool you. They're allowed to do this at home. Clearly, if it's an assignment that says to do something in the classroom or like to do an experiment in the classroom, clearly they need to do that in the classroom. But a lot of these, they don't need something. The ones that they don't need anything for, they can do. I mean, for example, they can open up this review right here and they can type right onto it, and type in their answers. You don't see any answers here because this is the actual template. It creates a blank copy of this for every student. And what you'll end up seeing is I'll put comments over here. So if they're doing work at home, I'll see that it's turned in, and I can add a comment and have a conversation with them. So if your child is struggling with this right here, I can't find this, Mr. Binkley. If I go through on there on Saturday morning and check this, I could make a comment and give kind of like a hint or somewhere to go check it out to find that. So, it's a really good way to communicate with me, even though they're not in class. So don't let them fool you. They can do this. I separate it by topics. So they need to do some earth and space. They could click earth and space, and all their earth and space opens up. That's the really nice thing about that. And of course, they could always go and do their coding at home as well. But basically, what I want you parents to see from this is that they can practice their skills at home. And in fact, it's going to be much better because they aren't going to do a bunch of problems incorrectly and then find out the next afternoon or the day after that, whenever I get a chance to look at it, that they made mistakes. They get that instant automatic feedback, and that is one of the keys to learning something, is getting instant feedback. You get much more from that than waiting a few days. So if you have any questions, you can always feel free to contact me. And just get them on there and get them practicing, especially that math on here. Really key. If they practice a bunch of these at home and get really good at it and get fluent, it's really nice. All right. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk